gardeners. It's July 3rd today. Lightman Garden here in the Phoenix, Arizona area. On this muggy Friday morning, I'm going to talk to you about white sapote. This is a tree that I've been growing in my yard for quite a few years. This one is actually 6 years old. And it is definitely a subtropical that is very easy to grow in the Phoenix, Arizona area, 9B, similar climate. So if you're out in Nevada, Texas, California, Florida, this is a good option for you if you want a tropical fruit. I'm going to talk you through this, show you my tree. I'll also talk through pruning today. I'm not going to demonstrate that, but I'll give you some pointers on how to go about that. White sapote is in the Rhotaceae family. It is a distant relative of citrus. It's also known as Mexican apple, and it has its origins, of course, in Mexico. And what's nice about this one is you can grow it in zones 8 and up. So it has a bit more cold tolerance than some of your other tropicals. Another nice aspect about this tree is that it's pretty tolerant of most soils. So you can grow this in clay soils, limestone-based soils, even sandy soils. And it's not pH sensitive. It can handle a pretty broad range, anywhere between 5.6 and 7 is where it's going to be the happiest. On cold tolerance, the young tree can be killed at 26 and a mature one at 24. Now my yard has gone down to 24 degrees and definitely did not kill this tree. So in my experience, if you have a healthy tree that's fairly well established, it could probably get down to 22 without seriously harming the tree. I didn't have any dieback at 24. So I do not winter protect this at all. In fact, winter is its favorite season. That's when it's going to put on its most growth. You can see even now, in July it's trying to put on new leaves. They're fairly small at this point. It doesn't really like summer that much, but it does get through it just fine. The first couple years I did protect this in the summer. I put shade cloth over it. Once it gets going, and it's about 2 to 3 years in the ground, it should have a sizable canopy on it to shade itself. But you're going to want to help it out the first couple years when it's small and it doesn't have that in place. This one is also on growth rate fairly slow growing. You're not going to see tremendous growth on it each year. Especially initially, the first few years, it's not going to put on all that much growth. Now this tree in particular got transplanted, so even though it's 6 years old, for all intents and purposes, it's more like a 4-year-old tree. Because it got set back when I transplanted it, and it was in a bad location the first 2 years, so it didn't really do a whole lot. So 4 years is when you can really expect to get fruit off of this. The first few years, it's going to put a lot of flowers out in winter, and high winds will knock most of those off. But as the tree gets stronger, it's going to hold on to those blooms, and then it's going to set fruit like this for you in clusters. You can see even way up here, I've got fruit hanging on the tree. So this is one that definitely takes some patience. Don't expect fruit right away. I do suggest getting one small, like in a 3-gallon container, and letting that grow into the soil. I'm not a proponent of buying big trees. Yes, if you buy a 15-gallon tree, you're going to get fruit faster, but 15-gallon trees tend to be root bound, and in my experience just don't grow as well as getting a small tree that's going to put down strong roots. This is an evergreen, which is very nice to have here when all your other trees are defoliated in winter. This and citrus are green, and loquat of course. So nice look to the landscape in the wintertime. Just like black sapote, white sapote is not true to seed. So while you can put a seed in the ground to grow this, it's going to take about 7 to 8 years to bear fruit, and the fruit quality, of course, is not guaranteed. So much better to start with a grafted tree, as those will bear within 3 to 4 years. Now, I bought this one as the Subel variety. I'm not sure that it is, but that's probably the most common variety out there. And then just to talk about the fruit a bit more, so the fruit's going to measure between 2 and 5 inches in diameter. The skin color is going to range from green to yellow, depending on your variety. Skin generally is fairly bitter. It's not really something that you want to eat. So you scoop the flesh out, and that flesh is very smooth and custard-like. And depending on the cultivar, you're going to get notes of banana, vanilla, lemon, and peach. Now on the Subel, I would say I get definitely the taste of banana and lemon, not so much the peach or the vanilla. But I'm also finding as time goes on, this fruit is getting better and better. So some of those flavor profiles might come out later on. So this one is a little bit unusual on shaping. You're going to find that your branches, more or less, are going to kind of weep, because the branches when they first come out are very thin and brittle like this, and the fruit just weighs on them. So what I've done here is put a metal stake in and then a PV sleeve over it, and you can see, just to hold it up initially, I put this wire across it with some polytubing on the end. Of course, so that the wire doesn't injure the trunk. That branch over there 2 years ago was, falling on the ground. But by doing this, it allowed this lateral branch right here to strengthen up. So if you're planting a new tree, that's what I would suggest. Head it back a bit. You don't want it growing too tall. And start encouraging the lateral branching, and make sure you've got post supports all around the tree so that you can kind of brace up these limbs, these strategic limbs where you want them, that will serve as scaffolds for following years. That's the strategy I invoke for this tree. You can see quite a few branches, thick branches. I've got this dual trunk here. And then many branches coming off of that to hold fruit down low. From time to time you want to thin some out. So like here, this branch is growing right into this trunk. That's not going to be good over time. For now it's fine. This is a young branch that's holding a piece of fruit, which is fine. We'll leave that to ripen up and harvest, around October. And then come spring next year, I'm going to clip this branch off, as I don't want that to fatten up and put any stress onto this limb. So here's another set of scaffolds a little higher up. I'll leave these. You can see branch here, and then a branch here. The smaller branches like this, I might get rid of. Looking at the tree from this angle now, of course I've got the black sapote right here, and I've got this pathway here and a fig tree to this side. So it's a fairly dense planting area. So what I do from time to time is, these branches are going to come into the path like this. So, a good thing to do right here would be just clip this lower branch right here. So it's really just light shaping, and then also controlling the height. So I'm letting this one grow a little bit out this year. It's around 15 feet tall now. And what I want to do is just head that back. See that long branch that's going way up? That could break in a wind too, and there's really no reason to have it that tall for fruit. So I would probably head that back to about this point here. Keep this around 12 feet tall. And that's just my personal choice because it is planted quite close to the wall. And I did that because this tree was so brittle and needed a strong windbreak. I had this more out away from a wall and it just got pummeled by the winds here. So because I have this near a wall, I need to keep this more compact. You can see the trunk here and the wall is only about 4 feet away. So I can't let this tree get to, 30 feet tall. That's going to be a problem. I do live in an HOA. Not sure if my neighbors want little sapotes dropping in their yard, but trying to keep that from happening. So it does require some pruning. Another crotch. Next year, new growth is going to come out from these and fruit. So you want these to be pretty strong. This is about 6 feet up. And you can see what happens, just with this branch. It's bowing. With all that fruit on there, it tends to bow down. So the shaping on this is a little bit unusual. You're not going to have straight branches necessarily. What I tend to do with these, if I don't want this branch interfering with what's down below, a cut here at this junction. And that'll encourage this branch to strengthen up and grow into that open space there. These main scaffolds took years to develop. So it's really just a matter of coming through, looking at the branches you have available on New Year's growth, trimming out the ones that don't make sense, that are growing in the wrong direction, and supporting the ones that look like they're going to be good, strong lateral branches. I offered to get some more varieties on here. I did do some grafting. There is a nursery in California called Fruitwood Nursery where they do at times offer sapote wood, which is pretty awesome because it's very hard to find unless you're a member of a rare fruit growers organization or just know someone that's growing another variety. But I was able to get a Vernon. So this is one that I grafted on, just doing a rind bark approach graft. And you can see what happens when you graft onto a very established tree like this. The graft doesn't really do much, right? It's quite brittle. This is 2 years of growth and it hasn't done a whole lot. Now I do have fruit on it, which is nice. So I have a couple sapotes to try out this Vernon variety. But you might hear someone say, oh, plant a seedling so you get that vigorous growth from it, and then once it's really mature, graft on. Well, that's not real great advice because the rootstock is just going to be so aggressive that the graft will never really take. This will never become a substantial part of this tree unless I hack a lot of the rootstock off, which I'm not going to do. So just keep that in mind. If you want really a multi-grafted tree, do it when it's young. Don't wait until the tree is 6 years old. It's going to be very difficult for that graft to take off when it's competing. I also have another graft here called Netty White. Don't know much about this variety. It's just another one they were offering, and you can see that one. That one really hasn't done much. There's just not a whole lot of energy getting to these grafts. I really don't fertilize this tree much. It doesn't need a whole lot of fertilizer. Maybe hit it with compost or an organic fertilizer a couple times a year and it's good to go. On watering, this is going to be like a citrus type watering situation. Deep water this once a week and it will be happy. the tree will have a tendency once in a while to put out some yellow leaves. People freak out about seeing yellow leaves. If you've got a tree that only has a few yellow leaves, that's nothing to worry about. It's just cycling of leaves. It'll put new ones on. You know, it'll drop these and it'll put new ones on. So don't worry about a few yellow leaves. That's normal for any kind of plant. Especially as seasons change. And just as a reaction to watering, it can happen. It doesn't mean that you're overwatering or underwatering. It's just basic leaf cycling. Now, if a tree that you have has 90% or more yellow leaves, that's a problem. That definitely indicates overwatering. But as long as you're seeing new growth pushing, in addition to yellow leaves, you're fine. A nice subtropical to grow, you know, these aren't as easy as a fig tree because they do require some protection in summer initially, but once you get over that initial 2-year hump, these grow very well into the sun and will give you a lot of fruit. Hope you enjoyed the video and found some of this information useful. Thanks for watching and happy gardening.